Well, welcome along. This is ShrimpNet number of this season, because I haven't a clue how many we've done, but we've done quite a few. I'm recording this on my, we're recording this as usual with Joel's fantastic tomfoolery, but I'm on my iPad because my iMac, the screen fell off and smashed all over the floor last Thursday morning. So that's good. It was nice to come home to. So there you go. Today's guests, obviously joining Joel and myself, we have, he's gone back to standing because he usually sits, but he's gone back to standing, James, and he's got a map of the world to show that he's an international jet setter, and also he's much travelled, whereas, we don't go anywhere, but I'm liking he's wearing the badge. It's James Wakefield joining us from the boardroom. James, welcome along.
Hi, Freez. Hi, Joel.
And also the returning custodian, our super, now fit, now back to his best. And it's lovely to see you back between the sticks. Stuart Moore, welcome.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Great to be back on here and between the sticks.
Yeah, good. Oh, well said. That was smooth. That was very smooth. Right, where do we start? Well, the usual thing is talk about the last three games because we weren't here last week because we were otherwise engaged. Our apologies, but we're back now. Fleetwood away. I watched this in the corner flag bar in Algorfa, wearing my away shirt. I thought Fleetwood played really well the first half, Stu. I thought the gaffer changed it round and we played really well the second half, and probably a draw was about right. Stuart, would you agree or would you disagree?
Yeah, I think first half, obviously, they created a lot of problems for us. We found it very difficult to get into the game. Obviously, the gaffer changed things at half time, and I think, it really worked. They obviously came out second half, probably, you know, they probably thought they were going to cruise the game after that first half. And I think it goes to show the real character we've got in the squad that, we can get back into games from 2 goals down and, we can really turn things around.
And it was a tricky first half. They played some really, really nice stuff. Charlie Adam, their manager, he must have gone in at half time, as you said, saying, well, yeah, just carry on playing like that. But you've got to give Derek some credit, haven't you? Because he hooked 3-4 players off, not for any particular reason other than he obviously went two up front. We changed it, and it was quite tetchy for about 20 minutes because they still had the odd chance, but you weren't half as busy as you were in the first half. But as I saw it, when we got a goal back, there was we dominated after that.
Yeah, definitely. I think, that shows a lot of experience from the gaffer. He's been in those sort of situations before. He's managed, tons of games and, he knows what the game needs and what changes he needs to make as well. So, full credit to the gaffer for that. And obviously full credit to the boys as well, because, it's not easy getting yourself back into a game when you've been so dominated in that first half. So, yeah, I mean, obviously second half I made a couple of saves, but nowhere near as many as the first half, and obviously it's just great to get the point on the night.
And looking at it in black and white terms, James, we've had 5 straight defeats of 1-0, and now we've had 4 straight draws. It looks like we're setting a bit of a pattern, but it was a great point. Hallam hopes finish with his chest. Doesn't matter how you get them, does it?
It was a lovely finish. It was. I mean, it was. It was literally. I was watching on Sky, and to be fair, I thought the Sky coverage was excellent. They gave Fleetwood the plaudits at half time correctly, and they gave us the plaudits at full time correctly. Yeah. I thought, and it was a cracking finish by Hallam. Like that, he really did shape onto the ball, and it was the best thing to do in that situation. If he tried to head it, he'd have hit it with his nose and it gone over the bar. But no, overall, I think there's real progress. We're creating more and more chances in each game. We played against some really, really good opposition. And if we go from, losing 5-1-0 to drawing 4 on the bounce to winning the next 4 or 5, then we'll be very happy in about 2.5 weeks' time.
Yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about then, Joel, won't we? But looking at it in playing black and white, it was a tricky place to go. Now look at all the fixtures that we've played, and we've played so many teams in the top 10 if you'd have said to me before the game, I'd take a point, particularly at 2-0 down, I'd have snapped your hand off. So really, it's been a valuable, if you like, proof that the gaffer can change it with the squad he's got and get back into games.
Yeah, I mean, just on the quality of teams he's faced, actually, my dad texted me when I was on my way home last night, and he said that we've played five of the current top six and only one team in the bottom half of the table. So at the end of the day, look, with 8 or 9 games in, it's not, the table isn't a true reflection of how things are going to pan out, but it does show that we've kind of played teams who tended to be in form at the start of the season. So yeah, it's been a tough run. I've got to say, I thought Fleetwood were in that first half were probably the best we faced, and obviously that doesn't,
I agree.
they might have might have caught other sides and not quite their best, but like, yeah, I thought they were fantastic. I think kind of similar to what James said. I thought Sky's coverage was really good, and one of the things they pointed out at half time, it felt like we were going not quite as aggressively as as how we went with Notts County, but it was somewhat kind of man to man with people kind of tracking and trying to press a bit higher, and it felt like Fleetwood kind of got to grips with that, or maybe we didn't have quite the level of intensity we needed. Maybe Fleetwood got to grips with it. It's hard to say, but I thought they did some clever things. Danny Mayer, I think a lot of the good he did was actually off the ball, and that he kept on going out wide left, which was because Paul Lewis was man marking, dragging Paul Lewis out the centre of the pitch, and that opened a gap up. I thought their front two were fantastic. I thought they were quick and technically very, very good, but also strong enough to hold their own against what is quite a big back line we have, and I thought they caused us a lot of trouble. And then I felt in the second half, it kind of felt like we almost shifted emphasis. It felt like we were trying to win the ball high or in midfield and then break on them and get chances through that. And it felt like in the second half, we kind of flipped things around a bit and just made it more about hitting long balls to Dackers and Slew early and let them kind of fight, pick up the seconds and then go from there. And obviously that's done the trick. And yeah, Dackers has come on, had a really good second half, made a big impact. The goal, quick shout out to Jan Songa for that finish, because I think when I was watching it on TV and I remember seeing it, I'm thinking the people who are in the stadium right now, they're probably not going to be able to appreciate how good that finish was. But the way it's kind of bouncing and then with his kind of back turn, just dinks it off the outside of his boot. That was really, really lovely. And then, as James has already said, we brought Hallam Hope on. He's just provided a little bit of extra impetus, and that's a really good bit of movement that he's put in to get on the end of that really good cross from Dackers. So yeah, it was very much a game of 2 hours. I think first half, Steve's kept us in it, and we were probably a bit fortunate to go in at 2-0. So yeah, we've done really well to come back. And just a quick little word on Fleetwood. They've just beaten Walsall, who, both I thought from our first game against them and what we can see from other games against them, they're an absolute unit defensively, and they've just put 6 past them, which is absolutely crazy. So while it felt a bit like, oh my God, we're getting absolutely taken to pieces here by Fleetwood in that first half. They are, they've got some seriously good attacking players, and credit to them, they made a lot, but we did amazingly in the second half to come back.
And moving on to Saturday, Stu. Notts County was always going to be a massive tough ask. They've got some great players. Their budget is obviously astronomical for this division, and they're obviously determined to get out of it. And obviously, with the quality of Danny Crowley and McGoldrick, etc., they're always going to stand a pretty good chance. But great start. Leanne goal, yet again, another unorthodox finish, but put us a goal up. And that stood us really in good stead till about sort of 20 minutes from the end, when I thought we looked, understandably, they kept the ball well, used it well. And we just looked to unfortunately run out of steam. But I'll come to the ghost goal later on. But from your point of view, it was probably quite a good game to play in, because it was quite end to end, the Notts County one, Stu.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, we got off to a brilliant start in that game, and I think they were a bit surprised with obviously how high we pressed them and the intensity that we did press them. I think it probably took them by surprise, to start with in the game. And we perhaps could have been maybe 2 or 3 goals up. and maybe should have been 2 or 3 goals up in the game. Obviously, the longer it goes on that you don't put the game to bed, there's always a chance that they're going to come back into it. Obviously, which they did, which was, frustrating. But then, to get the goal at the end and it not be given, it's extremely frustrating, really, because you put all that work into it, and obviously we're in the position we're in. It's not been the best of starts, obviously losing 5 on the bounce, but it's not through playing badly. We played well and we haven't got what we deserve out of the game. So, even the last few games where you probably before the game you go, you know what, Notts County and Bradford, you take draws in those games, but would you really? Because the way we played and the way we dominated teams, do you know what I mean? I feel like we've deserved more, and for whatever reason, obviously we haven't. So, I know it's coming, but it's obviously just frustrating when you see yourself still down in the bottom two. But it's early days in the season. I think, you look at the side and how we are now compared to the first couple of games, we're absolute leaps and bounds on from where we were.
Yeah, that's true. And with anything, if you're going to sign loads and loads of different players, obviously we re-signed Jan and David Chitonda, etc. But really, there was like yourself, Charlie Brown, and a couple of others, and that was it. So you've had to get to know everybody else, just like they've had to get to know each other. But what's the feeling like in the dressing room, particularly after the Notts County game? Did you go in just sort of saying, well, I mean, we're told as fans that, that Notts County players said the ball was over the line, but how do you get over that? It's just it seems to be a string of things not going right for us, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. For whatever reason, there's been a few decisions that have gone against us this season, and it happens. It's one of those things. Like I say, when you're down the bottom of the table, luck seems to go against you. But yeah, it's obviously frustrating, and it's disappointing. But you just got to get over it very quickly, because at the moment the games are coming thick and fast. So yeah, it's disappointing, and you can shout and scream all you want, but at the end of the day, it's not going to change a result. So obviously, be upset, be annoyed, but you just got to move on quickly, because the longer you dwell on it, you can't make excuses. Because if we start going, oh, the referee's done this or he's done that, at the end of the day, it's you can't blame anyone else but ourselves. So we've obviously done everything we can to win the game and should have won the game, but at the end of the day, it's one of those you can't really keep blaming the referee, because otherwise then it becomes an excuse. So you just sort of got to get on with it, and sometimes it's almost like playing against an extra man, but it's the way it is. So you've just got to get on with it, and almost try beat him with an extra man.
And James, I know we've all seen the replays of and I call it the ghost goal, because obviously some angles it looks like it's definitely over the line. Other angles it doesn't look like it is, and you just think, well, if you can't be sure, then it probably was right to not give it as a goal.
I think it's really tough. I thought it was over the line in the stadium, and then a couple of days later, I saw a video posted by somebody I went to primary school with, and it looks less certain. And ultimately, as much as I wish we had professional referees in the EFL, and I think that would make a huge difference over the course of a season, a decision like that comes down to whether somebody sees it cross the line or not, and that could be as poorly made or as well made with professional or non-professional referees. It's just a case of did somebody see it or not. So I think it's a tough one. I'll let Joel dissect the game generally from a tactical perspective in a second, because he'll do it better than me. But I thought the high press was absolutely brilliant. Like, it was the last thing that Notts County were expecting. I thought Leon Gold did a fantastic job up front. I mean, he created a couple of half chances just by surprising their defenders by how on their backs he was. And we played really, really well against a team that last year took us to the cleaners once, and on the other occasion would probably count themselves as unlucky. So I really enjoyed Saturday, despite the fact that goal wasn't a goal. And I've just thought the whole thing was really encouraging. Like, there's nothing about this team at the moment that gives me concern, which is a bizarre thing to say when we lost the first few and we've yet to win a game. But walking around the stadium on Saturday, spending time in JB, spending time with people from all sort of areas of the fan base, nobody's panicking, nobody's worried, everybody's actually really behind the team, everybody's feeling quite good about things. And I'm not sure there's many clubs that could say that, but it's because you can see with your own eyes that the performance levels are there, so it's going to come. And as long as nobody blinks, as long as everybody keeps the faith, it will come, because the performance levels have just got better and better and better, and it's weird. It's weirdly enjoyable, even though we need those 1 points to convert into 3 points, and the losses to convert into draws. But there's not a person panicking, as far as I can tell.
I think as well, like you touched on it there, James, and the feeling around the club, feeling in the dressing room, the feeling amongst the fans, the feeling around the whole club is brilliant at the moment. And, looking from the outside, people go, oh, it must be toxic there because, they haven't won a game yet. If anything, it feels like, we're top of the league, like, the way the fans are, the way the players are. And, we've been playing well, and all the fans are backing the team, and it's brilliant. The atmosphere the last few games at Mizzou has been absolutely excellent. It's been electric. So, it's a strange one really, because obviously, you get that feeling of like everything's like pumping, everything's right. It's just the wins that haven't come. But like you say, it's just as long as we can keep that going, then there's no reason why we can't start climbing that table.
And Joel, it's a fair point that just about all the league games I've been to this season, that the crowd have stayed behind and given the team a standing ovation despite the results, and that Notts County was exactly the same. And I do suppose you want to, I mean, obviously your dad coming out with those stats about playing teams in the top half. Thank you, David. That's a great start. But Joel, the high press came as a surprise to all of us, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, having seen some of the stuff we did try to do a bit of in the first half against Fleetwood, and then an hour before kickoff, obviously seeing the team come out and seeing that we've got 4 fullbacks, it felt like it was almost like a bit of a development, maybe learning from some of the things that went wrong against Fleetwood. It felt like part of the reason why things went a bit wrong against Fleetwood is obviously they've pulled us about a bit, but also their 2 forwards who were quick and quite athletic and quite strong. I thought they gave quite physically imposing, but obviously not necessarily hugely quick and nippy back line. I thought they gave us a bit of trouble. So what it does feel like we've essentially done is we've put a load of fullbacks in who, fullbacks by their nature generally a bit quicker, a bit nippier. That because they're having to defend against wingers, and it felt like kind of the team selection was very much geared towards having players who could keep up with their man, keep biting at them, deal with the kind of twisty and turning you get from people like Dan Crowley, and it worked really well. And then obviously the kind of the big one that they had up front, which was David McGoldrick, who obviously is still an incredibly skillful player. We had Jamie Stott doing a really good marshalling job, kind of, at times tracking him right back into his own half. So it was cut, watching it back, it was almost quite bizarre to watch, because there was kind of like a nominal formation we had on paper. It was kind of like 3-4-1-2, but really it was all over the place, and not in a disorganized way, in a way that that was completely pre-planned. There were little kind of triggers and moves that we were doing that looked pretty well rehearsed. It felt like every time their keeper got the ball, he kind of Dackard and Angol, they'd split, gone the centre backs, and then what their little kind of set move was to have a midfielder come back, do a little bounce pass off the keeper back to one of the centre backs. Angol or Dackard stayed running on the keeper. They tried to do the triangle round them, but as soon as the keeper passed, Angol would kind of get back out to him. I think that's how Angol won the ball on a couple of occasions. He kind of tricked them into trying that little move, but he'd be a step ahead and anticipating it and get back at them. So it was, really, really impressive, really, really interesting performance to watch. And we're absolutely 100% worth our point. The goal that never was in the end. I think at the end of the day, a lot of the county players, it sounds like, have admitted it was over the line. And if that's the case, it was over the line. I do get why the ref might have missed it. Obviously, it's weird because the keeper's it's kind of taken a nick off the underside of his arm, and that's obviously, I think, guessing it's probably put a bit of backspin on it, so it's kind of bobbled over the line, and then the spins dragged it a little bit more outwards, and then obviously McGoldrick's gone and cleared it. So, just dead unfortunate. It feels like there are a lot of things that have unfortunately gone against us, and to be quite frank, with what we on 4 points, I think we're worth more. I think we're worth at least 10 points. To be honest, I think probably
I,
maybe.
I was estimating at 10 or 11. I think we're worth 5 or 6 more points than we've got.
Yeah,
But hey, say la vie, we are where we are. As Stu says, we just got to keep doing exactly what we're doing, and the wins will come.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. There's been good stuff. We're doing good stuff, and I was having a text with a Bradford fan I know last night, and he was like, "Yeah, you know, I don't think what we're doing is making me think, oh my God, we should be pushing automatic promotion, but we look a decent side and we're doing good stuff and we're having chances and we're defending pretty well. So yeah, look, we deserve much more than we've got, and you know, hopefully, eventually the good work will hopefully pay off.
It's quite interesting what you were saying there about McGoldrick, because I watched the highlights. Well, I didn't watch the highlights. I watched the game back, and um, Paul Lewis did a pretty good job on him, and in the end, he was ended up falling further and further back, and Paul Lewis was going with him. And I was going to make exactly the same point, that he was the one who cleared it off the line, because he was in the end he was falling that far back to go and get the ball at times, because he was getting frustrated with the lack of service. But let's make no mistake, they're a decent side. They kept the ball really, really well and moved it. And like I say, I've sort of changed my attitude this season, and the fact that it's pointless moaning about the referees. Derek reiterated this week two things, which I thought was funny. Was the second was he reiterated that it evens itself out over the season, and it doesn't, which I thought was quite funny. But secondly, he did actually mention that we'd had Notts County watched, and he'd seen all their games, and nobody had high pressed them, and they did look really, really. They looked shocked that we did it, Joel, and shocked them into making mistakes, and that's a good thing, isn't it? To surprise teams.
Yeah, and look, like you said, we know the quality they've got. Jacob Badeau, I think, is a fantastic addition. We know the skills he has, and some of the things they lacked last year, but also some of the things that they still want to kind of keep about their style of play. I think Jacob definitely ticks those boxes. Dan Crowley, I think, I always think back to his debut for us year and a half ago or so, and that insane game against Bristol Rovers. When he turns it on, he's technically probably pushing on Premier League level to be, I'd say genuinely ridiculously good player. And yeah, McGoldrick, he's Dave McGoldrick, and there are times when things look so easy in the ball, but we kept really on top of them. Dave Tutonda absolutely hammering at McGoldrick initially, at Crowley initially, and then Aaron Lewis absolutely hammering at Goldrick at Crowley after that, and then we, to be honest, I think there was an incident, wasn't there, where Aaron Lewis has followed Crowley back. He's shoved him off the ball, got the ball, and he's like, should have done better with his shot, to be honest, or found a little square ball to toll it. And it was giving them loads and loads of trouble. And despite the fact that they had technically really good players, we were keeping on top of them. I thought as the second half went on, they've probably committed a few more men forward, and then there's a bit of space that's opened up back the other way. And I think it became a little bit more chaotic in the second half, but still, I thought we were doing really well. But yeah, they're a cracking side. They've got lots of quality, and yeah, eventually they found a way to open us up. And it's just a shame that when we did do what we needed to do to get the winner in the end, it wasn't quite spotted by the ref.
And to be honest, everything you've just said, you could actually substitute Notts County for Bradford City, couldn't you? Because, well, you could, because it was like, we scored early. Well, thanks to their centre half deciding that was such a good cross from Paul Lewis that he had to put it in. And it was a great cross. And then obviously Paul had the header a few minutes later. And then Marcus Deckers had that really good effort, which the keeper saved. The only real trouble in the first half, Stu, was when that guy got through on the right-hand side, but you were out that quick that you forced him to chip it wide. But otherwise, you were pretty quiet. And it could have been 3-0 at half-time against Bradford last night, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't really have a huge amount of saves to make. I had quite a few crosses to deal with last night, but apart from, that effort really, it was just a goal that, I had to do. And yeah, like I say, we probably should have been 2 or 3 up last night as well. And, it's just disappointing that we couldn't hold on to the lead last night. Or if, I feel like we deserve to get the win. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but again, it's one of those I know it's coming. So, it's sort of a bittersweet. We play well and we don't get a result, but at least we can do it and you can play well. But we just need to even if we don't play well, like you'd rather win a game than go out there and play the way. It's a
Yeah.
frustrating one. It's, you're sort of playing and not really getting what you deserve from it. Whereas sometimes you'll go out there and think we played terrible today, but we got 3 points. So it's yeah, it's a bit of a frustrating one.
To be honest with you, talking to a Newport lad who came up for the Newport game, that's exactly what he said. He said we were crap today and we beat you 1-0. I don't know how we've done that, and I said we need a bit of that luck, James, because that's exactly we have played so well in some part of all of the games, and yet we still find ourselves second bottom. But like you said, nobody's panicking. Everybody's together. We just need to turn it round, don't we? Really, but like last night, fantastic performance. Bradford City obviously saw a lot of the ball, and I think probably, given the sort of possession stats, you'd think that Bradford deserved a draw, but I think we could have been 3 or 4 up, James. And it was one of them games where take our chances. A couple in the second half, Callum Jones with his lofted effort, which the keeper did well to save. Ben Tollitt cut inside, beat 3, smashed it, top corner, and he saved it. I know that's what he's there for, Sam Walker, but he did play particularly well. And we're coming across keepers every week who are having worldies, aren't we, James?
We are, and I'm going to have to defer and pass on to Joel in a minute, though, because I was playing five-a-side in a full kit with old men last night. So all I've done is watch the highlights today, and I can't comment effectively on the game. So
FKW,
over to Joel Shooter.
Go on, Joel, fill us in.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think an interesting thing to see about last night is how the team can kind of have have principles of how they want to play and work rate and kind of things that you see in every performance, but then drastically alter the tactics. Obviously, against Notts County, it was high press, it was man for man. Last night was probably a bit more kind of standard 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 kind of thing, and bit more kind of, there wasn't really that kind of high press zonal man
No.
marking. It was a bit more kind of a normal structure. And yeah, again, I thought the facets of the performances that we've seen in recent weeks were still there. Quick direct attacks, working super hard, tracking men, winning the ball, poaching it in midfield, starting attacks quickly, and getting quite a lot of crosses into the box. And we've done really well. We've found different ways to hurt them. Obviously, crosses into the box, balls over the top as well. Dackers gave their centre backs an absolute nightmare. The one that he's kind of chipped over a guy and hit on the half volley. He absolutely kind of he ran them ragged to getting himself that chance. And yeah, I think second half as it goes on, I think the temptation is always to kind of be like, oh, we sat back second half, we shouldn't have done that, we should have gone for the kill, blah blah blah. I think I don't know, maybe Steve's got a bit more of a perspective on this, but like I don't think teams do this kind of stuff on purpose. You're holding on to a lead, and naturally there are elements of caution that are going to come into your game. And then on the flip side, when you're Bradford or the team chasing the game, you're going to be kind of pushing, you're going to be wanting to drive on and trying to overcome those kind of like ingrained psychological barriers that I think anybody in that situation would be dealing with. It's difficult, and but again, I don't think there was too many saves, really, spectacular saves Sierra had to make last night. It was, while they had a lot of pressure in the second half, they didn't create a great number of really clear-cut opportunities where you really thought, oh yeah, they should be scoring there, until that 88th minute, and even then it's a pretty good header as well. So yeah, just frustrating not to be able to hold on for the win, but still a lot of the facets of the performance that are really good that we've seen in recent weeks. And yeah, hopefully that first win will come soon.
My abiding memory of last night is probably, as Stuart touched on, was that Stuart was doing plenty of Superman impressions because he was coming out one-handed and punching. So you had to do that a few times, Stu, because when they brought Verdane Oliver on, as well as Andy Cook, there was certainly a barrage, wasn't there?
There was, yeah, and I think that goes to show how much we frustrated them. That's what they resorted to, just trying to pump the ball in the box and get as much pressure on us as they can. And obviously, in the end, it worked out for them. But for large amounts of the game, I thought we dealt with it really well. It was just one set piece that we sort of switch off from, don't clear the ball properly, ends up coming back in the box and then gets headed in. So yeah, like I say, it's frustrating that we couldn't hold on because we did deal with it so well for the majority of the game. But one little lapse in concentration and it leads to a goal, and we just end up getting punished for that at the moment.
I think it's worth mentioning also that obviously we've got quite a few important personnel missing with like Tom White, George Ray, Guion, now Lee Angol, etc., etc. We've not been particularly lucky with injuries at the moment, but that gives other people the opportunities, James. And like last night, it was lovely to see Adam Fairclough and Dobbo and Charlie Brown on the bench. Now they didn't get on, but it's something that you touched on in the fact that if people are here, slowly but surely they will actually get used. Derek will actually use them, and it's been working out because we have got. I won't say we've got a thin squad, but we've got quite a decent squad when you look at it, haven't we?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed Derek's approach to having a small squad and everybody having an opportunity, everybody having a chance, and it doesn't feel like you do panic when you lose a major player. Like I chatted to the Notts County guys after the game on Saturday, and they were banging on about how they were missing this player and that player and the other player. And I just said, well, we signed this number in the summer and our squad's got this number in it. And the guy's jaw nearly dropped to the floor because he was like, well, I mean, everything I've just said sounds ridiculous, which is not to be rude about the guys from Notts County. But the approach means that everybody has a chance, and the approach means that everybody feels like there's genuine competition for places. Stu, you know that if you have a few shockers and Harry comes in, then you'll have to win your place back, and that's a good thing. That's a really healthy thing in an organisation, in a team. So I think there's always the horrible chance that with a smaller squad you get so many injuries that at some point in the season you're really challenged. But the flip side is that there's a real chance for everybody, and it's fair and it's even, and you get a good dressing room, and that seems to be what we've got at the moment. Although Stu can comment on that more than I can.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got a very good dressing room. We've got a very, very good squad. We've got good players, great lads. But as you say, like we're unlucky with injuries at the moment, and with the young lads coming on the bench last night, in terms of Lennon and obviously Furky as well, it's one of those that you are within a whisker of getting on the pitch. So all it takes is one or two injuries, and you could go from not being in the squad each week to in the starting 11, and you just got to be ready at all times. So yeah, we've got a good squad, but that can, like I say, very quickly turn into quite a small squad as well. So everyone's got to be ready, and everyone's going to be needed this season. So just got to make sure that everyone's up to speed and ready to go whenever they're needed.
And I'll come back to you now, Stu, because obviously we touched on it when you came in, when you were coming back from injury, and you were on this pod, and you were hoping to see some sort of action towards the end of last season, but that never actually happened. But obviously, you've had a really good pre-season, and you got stuck in this season. It must be fantastic, A, to be back, B, to be fit, and C, to be first choice back again. Because when you came on early in last season, we started really, really well, completely opposite to this season. And you were saying, I remember you saying that it was about you were quite happy because you were coming into your prime as a keeper, and then obviously you got that really nasty injury. So it's sort of taken nearly a season out of your career here, but you're still young enough to come back from that. So it must be great to be back for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very frustrating. What to start with, I was hoping it was going to be something small, turned out to be a lot more serious than we thought. It's only supposed to be sort of about 3 or 4 months. As it turned out, it was 6 months, and then by the time it got to the end of the season, it was right. I could rush back now, but we didn't have anything to play for as such. So why, speaking to the physios and the professionals, why bother rushing back, potentially redoing it again when I've got the whole summer to keep building it and come back stronger this season? And you know what? At the time, it was a difficult decision because I just wanted to play again. It had been so long, but so glad that we decided to do that because I feel fitter and I feel stronger than ever. So I think it's really paid off to make that decision. But yeah, I think between obviously playing last season and this season, it was about 10 months in the end. So it was, a real long time out.
And me being the nice guy I am, I'll pass you on to Joel now because Joel will ask you far more searching questions than I ever can.
Well, I guess one thing to quickly go over is now obviously with your injury last season, you're now a seasoned broadcasting professional. So
True.
how do you find it kind of watching from the stands for a lot and doing the commentary for a lot of last season?
You know what? I really enjoyed it. And it started off as one of those things that I was like, you know what? I'll give it a go for a game, see if it's something I might be interested in, potentially later in my career when I finish. But it got to it that I enjoyed doing that because it took my mind off the game. Every time I was at the game and not playing, I was just getting more and more frustrated because you can't do anything. You're looking at things and you're thinking, oh, I wish I was out there. I wish I could be helping and wish I could be doing this. Whereas obviously when you're broadcasting and commentating, it gives you something else to focus on. So it was something that, I really enjoyed doing. So it was it just I saw the game in a whole different light and I learned a lot of things from it as well.
You were annoyingly bloody good at it as well.
Well, there are a few little challenges in it as well. We I don't know if you picked up on it, but we had a few little challenges each week. So I had a few key words that I had to get into each week. So speaking to Matt Smith in the media department, I think one week we had Foo Fighters songs, so like music songs, and then a few people started to get in on it. So a few of the first team coaches like Barry Roach and Natalie, it's like, right, see how many films you can get in this week. They give me a list of films, and it's like, can you get that in the commentary as well? So whilst we did that, we had a little bit of fun with it as well.
So it's always good to do that because it keeps it interesting.
It does. Some of them were a challenge getting in, but yeah, I managed to get a majority of them in.
I remember getting a text that asking, I think I was on one Gabriel Sutton's podcast. I remember getting a text asking me to get discombobulated in, which I did feel a little bit silly on to say that on a League Two podcast. So I did feel a bit pretentious on trying to put that in there, but it is what it is. But yeah, well, I guess from a seeing the game from a different perspective, I always think it's funny because I guess as a keeper, when I don't know what your kind of tactical view of the game is and how you kind of view it, but obviously it's quite a weird angle that you're at when you're standing, in your goal looking. I feel like your depth perception is always proper weird when you're looking at the end of the pitch. So I guess you do get a chance at seeing a lot more of the game, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something people forget as well, that it's easy to see it from the side of the pitch thinking, oh, he's got loads of time there, or should be coming for that, should be coming for this. And it's like, until you actually stand in the goal and you play the game in goal and you see it differently, people don't realize how much different it is when you're at that end of the pitch compared to the side of the pitch. There's a huge difference. Like I say, sometimes you can't get that depth perception, and it's just like a through ball over the top from the side. It may look easy, but then it's like you can't judge, is the ball going to skid? Is it going to bounce? Is he going to get there before me? How quick? These are like all 100 different decisions you have to make in a split second. So yeah, it was good to see it from a different angle as well, because obviously I look at things and learn things that way as well, but also just to give people an insight of what it's like as well being a goalkeeper.
I guess as well, talking of kind of that kind of thing, I think one thing I think it's always very quickly easy, kind of easy to judge keepers on is when they've come off the line. And sometimes you'll see a keeper kind of fly off his line. And but just for the record, by the way, that one at the end of the first half, I did think it was the right decision to come off your line. I think if you'd stayed on your line, he's probably going to have quite a lot of time to just be able to wang the ball on the volley. So I mean, that was definitely the right call looking back. But like, it just seems so you don't really think about it. You kind of you look at some things that a keeper might decide to do when they kind of decide to rush off the line or stay, and you think, why that's ridiculous. How it looks so obvious when you're on the sidelines. But like you say, when you're in the moment, and also when there's that rush of blood to the head and there's the adrenaline and all that's kind of pumping through your system, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I think absolutely. It's one of those that, there may be times there's all different factors that come into it. Like I came for that ball and, initially could I get there? Started pressing the ball, couldn't get there because of the bounce. It was a slower bounce, stayed closer to the player. So I decided to hold as much as I could and make myself as big as I can. Thankfully, it worked and I made myself big enough and he put the ball wide. But, there's other times where you don't come and you probably should have done, or you might come and then he gets there before you, and there's so many different things that can happen. The ball could take a nasty bounce, it could hold up in the wind, it could zip off the surface. It's like I say, there's so many split second decisions you have to make, and you just got to hope that all your training and everything pays off and you make that correct decision at that time. Not only that as well, it's different players you're coming up against. Obviously you got a lot of players that are very quick as well, but some of them might not be as quick. So it's as well as, trying to gauge your speed and your position, it's trying to gauge how quick they are and, what they're thinking of doing as well.
So just kind of on that, do you? I don't know how common this is, but like, do you kind of study strikers a little bit before you play them, try and gauge the kind of what kind of shots they take, what kind of how quick they are in certain situations? Is that something that you kind of have a look at before the game?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we'll look at the way they play, the way they build up, the way they attack, and whilst we're watching the team and how they do that, I'll be looking at the strikers as well and thinking, okay, is he right? Is he left-footed? Is he quick? Is he, technical? Is he strong? Is he physical? What's his game? So, obviously, sometimes they can surprise you because they might not look great in one game and be unbelievable in another game. But yeah, you try get a bit of a gauge of what sort of player they are and what sort of threat, they're going to give you. Do they run in behind or are they more of a hold-up player? But yeah, you've got to be prepared for anything, but it's something that obviously you can, take into account.
Talking of being good in one game and not good in the next. Nick Townsend for Newport made a load of worldly saves, and I noticed next week he's gone and conceded 4 goals in the first half.
Yeah,
which is
and,
quite...
and a couple of them, he was a couple of them. He just stood and watched them fly past him, and I'm like, you didn't do like last week.
The life of a goalkeeper, unfortunately, you could be unbelievable one week, and then next week, like say, you can see 4 goals. It's one of those. You can make one mistake and you can make 10 worldies, but everyone always just remembers a mistake.
And just unfortunately to touch on mistakes, obviously there've been a couple have happened this season, but what I think is really heartening to watch is it doesn't seem to have affected your play and your general play as a goalkeeper. I remember thinking, oh no, something wrong happens and then it might seep into the rest of your game. But from watching, it doesn't look to put you off your cross catching, your shot stop. It doesn't look to your handling as well. It doesn't look to have affected anything at all. So has it just been a bit of an exercise and almost kind of compartmentalizing that and moving on?
Yeah, 100%. I think you got to remember as well, I've had 10 months out, so there is going to be a few rusty moments. And, at the end of the day, I'm only human. I've made mistakes before. I'm going to make mistakes again, and it's just how you react from it. I've made mistakes in a lot bigger games, and yeah, like it frustrates the life out of me. You don't mean to make a mistake, but these things happen. Unfortunately, as a goalkeeper, you make a mistake 9 times out of 10, it ends up as a goal and in the back of the net. Whereas, a striker could miss an open goal or midfielder can give a ball away and nothing happens from it. The amount you look in the game, the amount of times that players misplace passes or give the ball away, but they've always got, at least one player behind them, the goalkeeper, but often they've got many players behind them. So if they give the ball away, it doesn't really matter. Whereas if a goalkeeper gives it away, then it's sort of frowned upon and you just get blamed for everything, especially when you lose a game 1-0 as well, which obviously, unfortunately, in both occasions happened to me. If we go win that game 3-1, 4-1, no one remembers it. It's, very quickly forgotten about. But the fact that we don't score and we lose a game again, I think that's why it gets highlighted even more. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's very disappointing. It's obviously not how I wanted to start the season, but at the end of the day, it's one of those. Obviously, the gaffer stuck by me, and I'm very grateful for that because I do feel that I've got a lot to offer this team, and hopefully, I will help gain a lot of points this season. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Is for me, it's not about making a mistake; it's how you respond and you react to it. So, like I say, I've had it a few times in my career, and I'd like to think that I've responded very well from it each time. So, like I say, it won't be the last mistake I make. I'm sure I'd love it to be, but it's just one of those things as a goalkeeper. It's you're human and it happens. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, can just get some good solid performances in under my belt now.
Yeah, definitely.
You might be human, Stu, but because you're a goalkeeper, you've got to be a bit bloody mental, surely.
Yeah, goalkeepers are crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know who would really want to be diving at people's feet, getting kicks, and diving in front of 100-mile-per-hour balls. But it's one of those things that for some reason we absolutely love it. We love diving around and just getting absolutely peppered. So it's yeah, I guess you
Just
said I'm crazy.
jumping into a 50-50 with Jamil Matt about 10 minutes into the season.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was like getting hit by a brick wall. And then yeah, also the one at Doncaster as well, where I came out and cleared it. A few games later, I think I'd just about shaken that one off from Jamil Matt, and then all of a sudden I get hit again. So yeah, it's you
I
put
rest
yourself
my
on the
case,
line.
Your Honour.
Yeah, he
But
definitely.
it was quite interesting last night against Bradford. I say last night. Obviously, people are listening to this later in the week. But the Bradford game, there was an unusual wind last night because the second half, your kicks were one bounce straight through out of your hands, straight through to Sam Walker in their goal. And usually, the wind 90% of the time is the other way. And when he did it for about the third time, I was like, if you put an extra bit of bounce on that, you could have scored. Because
Honestly,
it was quite windy behind you second half, wasn't it?
it was very strange. We were speaking about it in the warm up actually. As we were going through the crosses in the warm up and the kick in, I was speaking to Barry about it, and we were just saying it's so strange to have the wind blowing that way because,
Yeah,
like you say, 99% of the time it's going the other way. So always second half, you sort of know, oh, I'm going to be kicking into the wind here. It's going to be
yeah.
difficult, but just got to get through it. And to be fair, I was very happy with my kick in first half, considering it was into wind and coming at half time, and the gaffer actually, I said to everyone, lads, look, by the way, they're going to be kicking into the wind this half. So, the keeper's kicks aren't going to go as far, whereas our ones are going to race away a bit. And the gaffer
Mm.
turned to me and went, wait, were you kicking into the wind that half? I was like, yeah. So I think, I don't think he realised with my kicking it was quite a good first half. So when it went out second half, it felt weird second half to actually be trying to take some off your kicks and it's still going that far. And sort of like I say, a few times it was, almost landing on the edge of their box. So it was
Yeah.
a pretty strange feeling.
Yeah, it was. I noticed it. And like I say, about the third time you kicked out of your hands, it bounced once. And Sam Walker, he had to sort of like come back sort of 2 or 3 yards to take it. And I was like, you never know. If you can get a bit of purchase on that, you could have scored. But there you go. So we'll move on. We'll chat a little bit about Accrington on Saturday, James. Always a good one for us because obviously cliche, Lancashire hot pot and all that sort of thing. But there's a lot of parallels. I always say this. I get on with everybody from Accrington. That good set of fans, very similar sized club to us. Might not agree with everything that Andy Holt does or says, but his heart's in the right place. And obviously, it's sad to see them bottom and us second bottom, but obviously, you put that aside, and hopefully, we'll get something on Saturday, James.
Yeah, I really hope so. Jed and John Coleman were at the game on Saturday, and I had a chat with Jed, and yeah, they're really struggling to see where the results are coming from. And you don't want to see any team struggle, but as you know, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Aki, and I want to see good, sustainably run teams do well.
Yeah.
That said, I'm quietly confident about Saturday. I think we're creating an awful lot more. I think we're looking like we deserve wins, and I'm not sure that they are. So I don't want to hex it, but I'm looking forward to the game.
You just have.
I genuinely think that past seasons and past results and all of that stuff is absolute nonsense. You've got to ignore it. This is a completely different game. It's different teams, different squad, different management on their part. I'm looking forward to Saturday. I don't think there's any reason to not go there with lots of confidence. But hopefully after we've won on Saturday, Aki go on and do all right and find themselves to a slightly safer position.
And Stuart, it might be nice, as we've already touched on. It might be nice already for us to play an absolute load of crap on Saturday and come away with a 1-0 win, because I'm sure you'd be happy with that.
Absolutely. Like I say, it doesn't matter how we play. If we get the result and, if we get a clean sheet, even better. It's one of those, I think now, yeah, it'd be great to play well and get the 3 points, but as long as we get the 3 points, I think that's the main thing for us now. Is, obviously we're building and building each week, but it'd be lovely just to get a scrappy 1-0 win.
And Joel, you going Saturday? Because obviously, years of going to Accrington and getting wet through, I've got seated tickets because I'm a coward. Because it always rains at Accrington, no matter when I go.
Yeah, I might be going. I might have accidentally roped myself into something else, but I might be going. But yeah, it's I mean, am I quite as altruistic about Accrington as you guys? Maybe not. Is the fact that they're bottom of the league the one thing that's keeping me positive and keeping me going? Possibly. But no, look, to be fair, actually, I think I might have actually caught them on one of their few actually pretty decent performances in the season the other week against Port Vale. I thought I don't think they looked a great side, Accrington, I can't lie, but I thought they had a really good game plan. They really restricted Port Vale, who for all the money they've spent, were absolutely crap. I thought they were awful. Accrington were 2-0 up, and to be quite frank, deservedly so. And they managed to throw it away in the last 5 minutes and stoppage time of the game. So, yeah, hopefully. So, I think they're probably at a bit of a difficult point mentally as well. So, yeah, hopefully it's a game we can really crack on with and get a win because as my dad's pointed out, we have had generally a pretty tough fixture list to start the season. So hopefully finally our good performances are going to come in and we'll get our good performances are going to be able to let us cash in on 3 actual whole points because that would be lovely and
Woo!
allay a lot of fears.
Well, the only thing I'll say is some couple of wags at the football last night said we're going to draw at Accrington so that we've had 5 losses, then 5 draws, and then we're going to go and win the next 5 games. And I was like, I'll take that. I will take that, definitely. But there you go. So anything, I mean, and I was asked this by 3 people last night, James, what's going on with the blooming sale? We haven't heard anything. And I said, hopefully we'll have somebody on from the board, but they're as much mushrooms as the rest of us, I suppose, James, still.
No, we're not mushrooms. There's a couple of things. One thing that came directly from what Stu said about half an hour ago. But firstly, there's not been any negative changes. Conversations are still ongoing. The party involved are keen to keep things confidential, which is fair enough actually, because the last thing you want is people pouring over you when things aren't quite done and dusted. But there's no negative news. Things are still ongoing. There's still conversations ongoing, and hasn't really changed from when I last said that a few weeks ago. And then these things do take time. And as I said a few weeks ago, I'm slightly more confident that useful conversations are happening now, whereas wasn't so confident of that 6 months ago. The thing I was going to say that what Stu triggered me to think about earlier is, we kind of need to get back to being a club that just all gets on with it regardless of what's happening in terms of ownership, because no matter who the owner of a football club are, it doesn't change the fact that on Saturday you've got to play really well on the pitch, you've got to get your community right, you've got to get your support for the women's team right, you've got to get the relationship between the trust and the club right, and you've got to do everything that you can control as well as possible. So I think I'm probably after a couple of years of incredible frustration, realizing that maybe remembering what I was saying 3 years ago about let's just do everything we possibly can to make the controllables as good as possible and not worry about the uncontrollables. And we'll probably do really quite well and probably enjoy it as well. So I'm there's no negative news. There's still progress off the field. I can't control that, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to worry about improving the relationship with the trust, trying to make sure that everybody's working together, and being that club with limited resources that does more with less. And if we can all get on with doing that, then actually, who cares what's happening in the background?
Fair play, good answer. Anything from the trust, Joel?
Not masses this week. Just kind of moving on and putting into action things we discussed in our strategy day. We're hoping to have the document from that kind of prepared and be able to kind of share with people a bit more publicly what we're kind of looking to put into play over the next year. And yeah, we'll keep people updated when we've got when we've got more to share, more we can kind of keep you all updated on our progress and our plans for the year. Oh, and also coach travel. Before I forget, I'll get in trouble. But no, yeah, obviously we're still continuing with our away coach offering. It's we're working hard to make sure it will be sustainable and not at a loss, and not something that kind of we're just living on the edge with it as soon as we have to go south of Crewe, So we're putting steps in place to try and make that a sustainable thing we can do. And obviously, what makes a big difference is if you are planning to go to an away game, you're not 100% sure about how you're going to get there. Have a look on the trust socials and hop on the coach and hopefully take 3 points from Accrington.
So straight away, I'm thinking, has somebody tried to get Aerosmith songs in there, because you said living on the edge there, and I'm like, all right, yeah, okay, yeah. So it's quite good loving an elevator, isn't it? Yeah. So there you go. That was completely utterly rubbish there. What a crap way to finish. Stu, thanks for doing this. It's been a lovely to talk to you. It's fantastic to see you between the sticks. You keep doing what you're doing and keep telling the lads you're absolutely right. We're all together on and off the pitch. That just it will come. It has to come. And there were people around me last night who were saying if we can get a run going, that the playoffs are still not out of reach, because we haven't seen an outstanding side this year, but then again we haven't seen a poor side either. So it's all up for grabs, and I'm sure we all agree on that. So good luck on Saturday, and I hope you come back on later on in the season when all of a sudden we're in a better position, and all of a sudden the playoffs are looking likely.
Yeah, no, sounds good. It's been great to be on here again. It's been very enjoyable.
Yeah, well, you can pack that in and join yourself. You're not supposed to enjoy yourself on here. No. Yeah, don't come in here having fun. You're not supposed to do that. No. This has been ShrimpNet. Thanks to James. Thanks to Joel. Thanks to Stu. We'll see you on the terraces, or maybe in the posh seats on Saturday. But I'm going to Barrow as well, so that's an interesting away day as well. There'll be a coach available for that, which you can book on. But join us next week when we'll chat a little bit about hopefully the Aki game and playing Nottingham Forest under 12s, which we haven't mentioned. See you next week.